I was a successful business elite. When I opened my eyes, I found myself back at 18. Once again living the days of eating coarse meals just to survive. In the shabby, yellowed classroom, the girls were making bets about me. I heard Willow say, "I'm telling you, someone like George, such a loser, if I just crook my finger, he'll kneel down and be my simp." They laughed and teased her loudly. "Then go do it." Willow replied, "Fine, I'll go then." Lying on my desk, I closed my eyes, waiting for Willow to walk up to me. Chapter 1. Knock, knock, knock. Willow tapped on my desk. I pretended to have just been woken up and raised my head. "What is it?" Willow leaned closer, speaking mysteriously. "Do you have time after school? I need to talk to you about something." I looked at her carefully. She kept a calm face, acting casual, but she looked very serious. Without revealing any emotion, I replied, "Yes." She gave a little hum and said, "Good. Wait for me after school." With that, she flicked her long hair and turned back to her seat. Soon, laughter from the girls followed. I didn't even need to look to know their expressions. A bunch of idiots. I lay back down on the desk. I had no idea what kind of joke fate was playing to make me live my 18 years again. 18. My stomach growled in hunger. So empty I could only keep drinking water. During lunch break, others truly rested out of sleepiness. But me, I closed my eyes only because of hunger. Yet I couldn't fall asleep. So I heard the girls whispering. They talked about variety shows, celebrities, gossip, and, of course, the boys. Among them, me, honest and introverted. Someone like that is always the target of bullying in any school. But I was also poor, a pathetic loser, that gave them shameless ideas. They bet 200 yuan, and 10 years ago, I really did kneel down for her, for 200 yuan. She handed me the money. I knelt on the ground and barked like a dog 3 times. Then click, Willow snapped a picture. The next day, the photo spread wildly in the class group chat. From then on, they called me the kneeling simp. Chapter 2. After school, Willow was the first to walk out of the classroom. I picked up my backpack. She said, "Let's go." Without a word, I followed right after her. Leaving the classroom together, we walked out of the school and headed toward the grove behind the campus. I rubbed my empty stomach and called out, "Hey." Willow turned back, puzzled. "What is it?" "We're almost there. Don't tell me you're trying to back out." "No," I said, "but I'm hungry." Willow froze for a second, then gave a little snort. "So what do you want then?" "I want food," I answered. She frowned. She clearly didn't want to waste time, but at the same time she hesitated, unwilling to give up. After a few seconds of weighing it, she nodded. "Fine, let's eat first." I ordered a plate of fried rice. Willow paid. The fast food shop was shabby and greasy. Willow couldn't eat a thing. She looked at me with disgust as I wolfed the food down. Rolling her eyes, Willow muttered, "George, were you reincarnated from a starving ghost?" I ignored her completely. I had almost forgotten what hunger felt like at 18. But I hadn't forgotten my stepmother Sandra's cruelty. That beautiful woman was like a disease. She married into my family with her daughter, and soon infected my father. From then on, I was no different from an orphan living under someone else's roof. Sandra calculated precisely how much energy was needed to survive. She strictly controlled the money she gave me. Enough to buy half a bun, enough to live a day, not enough to die, but enough to suffer. Hunger left me with no energy to study. I couldn't get into college. I wouldn't be able to compete for the family's resources. This family would only ever support her daughter. Satisfied, I set my chopsticks down. "I'm done," I said. Willow stood up. "Now can we go?" But instead, I grabbed her wrist and pulled her back. Her body trembled. Her cheeks flushed. Her whole being ripened like fruit. The hormones of youth. Scorching, but her eyes burned even hotter. She lowered her gaze, avoiding my eyes. Lips pressed tightly together. "George," she whispered, her voice trembling. Do you really need money that badly?" I laughed. A question she already knew the answer to. Of course I needed money. That was why she came to me, wasn't it? In a low voice, Willow said. "Then, as long as you're willing to kneel for me." I shook my head. My hand slid slowly along her smooth skin, finally brushing across her lips. "There are too many people here. Do I have no pride? Let's find somewhere private." Her cheeks flamed red. "Then, where?" I leaned close to her ear and whispered. "A hotel. Want to go?" In the dark, narrow alley, that single word, hotel, seemed to glow in the night. Willow stood there, stunned and dazed. Chapter 3. Once inside the room, I pinned Willow directly against the door. Her breathing quickened, her whole body looking as though she were ready to be taken. Yet the next moment, I let go. I smiled. "How about a shower first, you or me?" Willow snapped back to her senses but, knowingly, said nothing. "Ladies first," I added. "You go." Willow glanced at me shyly, then nodded lightly. The bathroom door closed. I chuckled. Take your time, no rush. Then I opened Willow's backpack and pulled out her camera. Next, I picked up the hotel phone and dialed a number. At check-in, I had noticed a sleazy man at the counter asking if there were any special services. I'd left him a phone number. The call connected. I gave him the room number, hung up, and opened her wallet. A thick stack of cash. Willow was a spoiled rich girl. Her father owned the biggest supermarket in our county. He adored her, completely wrapped around her finger. From childhood, she got everything she wanted. So Willow never lacked money. But I didn't just want her money. I wanted my cut too. Soon, the doorbell rang. Willow had also finished her shower. She stepped out, surprised. Why are the lights off? No reply. Only the dim glow of the bedside lamp. And on the bed, a figure was lying there. Willow grew nervous, her voice trembling. George? She walked closer, wrapped in a bathrobe. As she bent down, the robe slipped from her delicate shoulders, exposing the slim, fair line of her back. I licked my teeth in amusement. The silence in the dark was suffocating. Until the next moment, the man on the bed flung off the blanket. A strong arm yanked her into his embrace. Willow toppled onto the bed, their bodies pressed together. That was when I flicked on the light. Click. I snapped a photo. Willow's eyes went wide. She was completely stunned. The man roared. What the fuck is this? This isn't what we agreed on. I motioned for him to wait, then waved the camera with a smile at Willow. She finally came back to her senses, screaming. George. One photo. 1,000 yuan, I said. I tossed her wallet onto the bed. The money. I'll take myself. The extra 500. That's my cut. As for the rest, get it from him later. Then, without hesitation, I slung my backpack over my shoulder and walked out. Willow jumped off the bed and chased me into the hallway. Stop, she shouted. George, you bastard. Stop right there. How dare you play me? But in the next second, the men cursed. I already paid. You think you can run? Willow snapped back. Get lost. Refund first, or you're not going anywhere. The two of them scuffled in the hotel corridor, drawing a crowd of onlookers. Truly, a dogfight where no one wins. Chapter 4. At 18, life was unbearably hard for me. Every minute and every second of senior year was precious, leaving me no room to make a living outside. So, when kneeling down and barking like a dog could be exchanged for a month's worth of meals, I accepted the deal, but it cost me my name. The image of me kneeling was forever frozen in her phone. The girls mocked me openly and in secret every day, often asking malicious questions. If a meat bun hits you, why doesn't it ever come back? George? George, why can't you stop eating shit? The boys kept their distance. Yet they edited my kneeling photo, spreading it in the group chat. When our eyes met, they would share that knowing, mocking smile. My life had fallen from hell into the 18th level of hell. No one bullied me directly. No one cursed me out loud, but in silence, I was whipped countless times. That's why I would not make the same mistake again. I hummed a tune happily as I went home. 1,500 yuan, enough to last me through the next half year. Then, the college entrance exam, and after that, I'd leave this place behind. Chapter 5. The next day, Willow came late. She looked utterly dejected, like a frostbitten eggplant. Rumor was, that man had grabbed Willow and refused to let her leave. The scene turned into a big commotion. In the end, Willow had no choice but to give him her phone as collateral to escape. I knew Willow well. She liked to toy with people. But she was also very clear about one thing. She couldn't afford for anything bad about her to spread, because no matter the truth. In senior year, students always preferred stories that spiced up their dull studies. I curled my lips in a smirk. Willow noticed. Her glare at me looked like she wanted to eat me alive. I turned my head away and scoffed. Her eyes burned with fury. A busybody went over and asked, Willow, what happened yesterday? Did he bark like a dog? Willow finally found an outlet for her rage. She shouted hysterically. He did. He barked like your mother. The person froze in surprise. Willow, what's wrong with you? Get lost, she snapped. She angrily swept all the books off her desk onto the floor, startling everyone around. I didn't look at her. Twisting my pen, I calmly circled key points in the brand new workbook I'd bought. This was nothing more than a trivial lesson. I didn't want to be called the kneeling simp again, though 10 years later, that nickname no longer had any power to hurt me. At 28, I was like a wall of iron. Nothing from my adolescence could wound me anymore. I had smoothed out the past, but right now, things were different. At 18, George still cared. Chapter 6. After school, Willow blocked my way again. This time, I didn't bother with politeness. Lifting my eyelids, I said, if you don't move, I won't be polite. Willow gnashed her teeth. George, how dare you treat me like this? This isn't over. I shrugged, smiling as I asked, so what are you going to do? Go back to the hotel again? Her expression instantly shifted into a colorful mix of emotions. She opened her mouth, then shut it again, finally spitting out angrily. Bitch. I pulled out the camera. Give it back, Willow shouted. Who's the bitch? I asked calmly. Willow was so furious she couldn't speak. Her chest heaved. Her face flushed red. I found it a little ridiculous. Bullying the weak was boring. I tossed the camera back at her. Take it, I said. She caught it and quickly lowered her head, fingers working furiously, probably deleting photos. When she finished, she lifted her head and asked, "You backed them up, didn't you?" I replied. "What do you think?" Of course I had. That was my bargaining chip. Willow bit her lip. "What do you want?" I crooked a finger at her. Beneath my 18-year-old skin was my 28-year-old soul, cold and sharp-edged. I bared my fangs and spat out one word. Scram. I had no desire to get entangled with her. I had too many problems already. My stepmother and stepsister, they were the true obstacles on my path forward. They had toppled me once. I wouldn't allow it to happen again. As for Willow, she was just a side character. Chapter 7. I never wolfed down dinner again. Stepmother Sandra quickly noticed something was off. Before, dinner had been the only meal I could eat my fill, so I ate like I was starving to death. But recently, with 3 meals a day, dinner didn't seem so urgent. Sandra grew suspicious, but she had no proof. She even secretly searched my backpack, my pillow, my bed, but found nothing. The 1,000 yuan was already hidden under Maria's bed. She would never find it. Don't celebrate too soon, Maria said with a smile. You can't hide it for long. My mom has her ways to deal with you. In a tone of certainty, she added, George, we know you've made money. I kept my head down, eyes on the book, pretending not to hear. Maria sat on the bed, speaking as if giving advice. So why work so hard? Even if you get into college, my mom won't let you go. I turned to look at her. Maria said, Don't waste your effort. On her face was that same faintly superior mockery, a sneer that no matter how hard I worked, she could still cut off my path, crushing me effortlessly. This is my house, I said. Maria froze, not expecting me to respond like that, but she didn't get angry. She quickly smiled instead, and then, she asked softly, George, one day, I'll drive you out of here. I met her gaze coldly. Want to try? Let's see whose house this really is, Maria said. As if to confirm her words, the door opened from the outside. My father stood at the doorway. I brought you both some snacks, he said. Sesame rice balls, Maria. Share them with George. Okay. Maria went over, took them with a sweet expression, and tilted her head up. Thanks, Dad. My father rubbed her head, then looked at me. Still studying. Son, don't stay up too late. I know, I replied. After the door closed, Maria bit into a sesame rice ball. Want one? She asked. Before I could answer, she rolled her eyes. Oh, right, you're allergic to sesame. Her smugness was written all over her face. Chapter 8. It didn't take long for me to figure out what Maria's method was. On Monday morning, during the homeroom meeting, Sandra stormed into the classroom. She demanded to know why I had stolen money from home, and what shameful thing I had done with it. With a face full of grief, she cried, George, you can't do bad things. If you need anything, tell Auntie. Auntie will definitely buy it for you, but you mustn't steal. All eyes in the room turned toward me. Expression cold. I said, I didn't. I don't believe you. Sandra began rifling through my desk. She swept everything out from inside, scattering books and papers onto the floor. Fine, she said. You won't admit it. Once I find it, let's see what you have left to say. I understood then. She thought I had hidden the money at school. But of course, she found nothing. The homeroom teacher finally recovered from the shock and stepped in. George's parent. If you have something to discuss, let's go to the office. Don't disturb the class. Fine, fine. We'll go to the office. George, you come too. In the office, Sandra was sobbing as though her heart were breaking. Teacher, I had no choice. If there were any other way, I would never have come to the school. But George is just too disobedient. The teacher asked, What exactly happened? She said, My wallet is missing 500 yuan. And the only one who went into my room was George. The teacher looked at me. George? I said. I didn't take it. And I'm not the only one who lives in that house. Sandra snapped. You're trying to say it was Maria. George, Maria is my daughter. I watched her grow up. I know her character. She would never do such a thing. I sneered. Are you sure about that? My laugh ignited Sandra's fury. Her eyes flashed with malice as she spat. George, your mother died early, and your father is hardly ever home. I know you lack love, but even if you need money, you mustn't steal. How will you face your mother in the afterlife? My expression changed instantly. She shouldn't have mentioned my mother. My mother was kind-hearted. Sandra wasn't worth a single one of her fingers. I straightened up, enunciating each word. If my mother knew I was being slandered like this, she would crawl back from hell to tear you apart. You bitch. The office fell silent. The teacher stared at me in shock. Never expecting someone as honest as me to say such a word, Sandra exploded, lunging at me. Calm down, Mrs. Sandra. Please calm down. The teacher tried to restrain her, then turned on me angrily. George, apologize. Like hell I'd apologize, I said. A pig wearing a crown, what kind of king do you think you are? The office descended into chaos. I turned and walked out. Willow was standing at the door. As I passed her, I cast her a glance but didn't stop. George, Willow called. The money you used to buy study materials, that was mine, wasn't it? I can help clear your name. I turned my head back. Her gaze was fixed on me, filled with pity. I was speechless. She was pitying me. What kind of sickness was that? Mind your own damn business, I said. Willow's face changed instantly, shifting into a dazzling swirl of colors. Chapter 9. When I got home at night, my bed was a total mess. Sandra had given them a bath. The soaked quilt was piled up like a heap of rotten mud. Maria gloated. You dare insult my mom, George? This is just a lesson for you. Your dad won't be home all week, so who are you going to complain to? I ignored her completely. Even if my dad were home, I wouldn't complain. He wouldn't believe me. When I said I didn't have enough to eat, he went to ask Sandra. Sandra explained that it was for my own good. She said, eating too much during puberty will lead to binge eating disorder. It's hard to cure. She even compared me to her daughter. She said, look at Maria. I don't let her eat that much. And my dad actually agreed with her. Then came bath time. In the height of summer, only their room had air conditioning. The rest of the house was hot and humid, so I took 3 cold showers a day. Sandra asked suspiciously, does George have some kind of cleanliness obsession? My dad frowned. What's going on? I looked at him, drenched in sweat, but didn't say a word because I knew if I complained about not having air conditioning in my room, he would just say, a calm mind makes the body cool. And if I asked why Maria's room had an air conditioner, the answer would definitely be, raise sons tough, raise daughters spoiled. So I could only turn into a child who seemed obsessive, picky, silent, and increasingly strange. I was shattered into pieces, and all I could do was endure, sweating it out in the stifling heat, hoping one day to escape this hell. It was supposed to be my dad, yet his entire attention was on Maria. What an irony. Chapter 10. The next day at school, the teacher called me over. I thought she was going to scold me, but instead, she just told me to study hard. She said, Willow already told me, she was the one who lent you the money. She patted me on the shoulder. Just endure it. Everything will be over once the college entrance exam is done. I gave a short reply and went back to class. Willow's eyes followed me. I glanced at her once, then turned away with a blank face. Her expression instantly darkened. A boy asked, Willow, want to go to the movies after school? I've got 2 tickets. Willow snapped back. Get lost. After school. Willow cornered me. Annoyed, I said, what do you want? With a proud face, she said, I cleared your name. I replied, I know. She gave a huff. Shouldn't you thank me? I shot back. Are you that bored? Willow flared up. George, can't you speak properly? I thought for a moment and said, fine, if you want me to speak properly, then buy me a meal. Willow was speechless. I was very practical. People need food to live. There's no point fighting with the thing that keeps you alive. Willow asked, what about the money I gave you? I used it. For what? I frowned. What does that have to do with you? For once, Willow didn't get angry. She asked, that woman, she's your stepmother, isn't she? I nodded. Yeah, and I have a stepsister too. Willow paused, gave me a look, then said, fine, then I'll treat you. I didn't hold back. Besides 5 large bowls of fried rice, I even ordered 3 bottles of Coke. Willow asked, is that enough? You can have more if you want. I gulped down the Coke, staring at her across the table. For a moment, an evil thought crossed my mind. Maybe I really could do something to her. After all, Willow was beautiful, the class beauty, and in my past life, all my trauma had been thanks to her. But no, I've been given this second chance at life, and I don't want to owe any new sins. Chapter 11. When my dad came back, I finally had clean bedding again. That night, the whole family went out to a restaurant. Inside the brightly lit dining hall, my dad brought out the gifts he had bought on his business trip. 3 in total, 1 for each of us. Sandra got a necklace, and Maria and I each got a phone. 1 large screen, 1 small screen. Sandra's face was full of delight. Thank you, darling. Maria also said sweetly, thank you, Dad. Only I remained indifferent. My dad asked, George, don't you like it? I said, that's not it. Then why don't you take it out and use it? I glanced at him. This man in front of me was so foolish, He had never noticed that the gifts he bought for me always ended up with Maria in the end. He was blind. I gave a wicked smile and said, "Actually, I prefer the one my sister has." Maria froze for a moment. Sandra reacted quickly, saying at once, "Then Maria, hurry up and switch with your brother." Maria snapped out of it, smiled, and said, "Sure." She handed the phone to me and sweetly said, "Here you go, brother." I reached out, took it, and nodded with a smile. The conflict vanished without a sound. My dad laughed, his face full of satisfaction. So many times, for that very smile of his, I had backed down again and again. But this time, I wouldn't back down. I weighed the phone in my hand, and in the next second, I tossed it straight into the boiling fish soup. I smiled and said, "I don't want filthy secondhand trash." The soup splashed all over Maria, and she jumped up, shouting, "George, you son of a..." Sandra quickly covered her mouth. I laughed. "Right, hold it in." The gentle, obedient honor student isn't supposed to curse. The kind, generous stepmother isn't supposed to curse. The only one allowed to curse is my dad. My dad's face darkened. "George, what are you doing?" "Apologize to Maria." Same old words, over and over. I was bored, annoyed. I answered, "I was talking about you. You don't seem to think anything's dirty." My dad grew furious. He stood up, raising his hand. I laughed, pointed to my face, and said, "Want to hit me? Go ahead. Right here." He wanted to slap me, but he hesitated. Sandra burst into tears right on cue. Her voice choked. "It's my fault. Taking your mother's place. It's normal you hate me. But what did Maria ever do wrong?" Maria cried too, sobbing, "Brother, please don't be angry." Finally, my dad hardened his heart, brought his hand down, and roared. I said, "Apologize." Smack. A loud slap, but it didn't land on my face. My dad froze. Maria gasped, "Willow, what are you doing here?" Willow was covering her cheek, standing in front of me. After a brief shock, I came back to my senses and shoved her aside. "This girl meddled too much," I said. "You're not family. Why eat at the same table?" Hypocrite. Then I turned and walked away. Chapter 12. Willow followed behind me. She was like a clingy shadow. I asked, "Why are you following me?" Willow said, "Nothing," I replied. "Then get lost." Willow's face turned pale with humiliation. Of course, she had always been treated like a princess, but only with me did she taste defeat, and she couldn't stand it. "George," she said, "can't you speak properly?" Of course I could, but why should I speak politely to her? She had humiliated me. I had fallen into the 18th level of hell, and in this life, she had planned to do it again. I said, "Don't tell me you think that just because you explained things to the teacher for me, and even took a slap in my place, I should be grateful." I laughed. "Willow, stop trying to bargain with me." She was delusional if she thought such belated kindness could buy my forgiveness. I wouldn't accept it. I walked forward alone. Behind me came Willow's voice, shouting, "You did it on purpose." I turned back. Willow looked at me and said, "George, you provoked your dad on purpose. What are you trying to do?" I had to admit, she was smart. I said, "This is my business." Willow pressed her lips together and said, "I just wanted to help you." I replied, "No need." Indeed, there was no need. My life belonged to me, and I would help myself. Chapter 13. I moved into the school dormitory. Because I refused to apologize to Sandra and Maria, my dad said that if I didn't apologize, I wasn't allowed to come back home. In that case, I smiled and said, "I'll move out." My dad was stunned. I continued, "I'll live in the dorm." Sandra rushed out of her room. "George, don't be impulsive. The college entrance exam is almost here. If you stay in the dorm now, you definitely won't get enough rest." Yes, the exam was approaching. She didn't dare let me move out. Moving out meant breaking free from her control. She wanted to keep me firmly in her grip. "If I don't move out, then only one person can stay in this house," I said. "It's either me or Maria." "Dad, you choose one." My dad was completely shocked, staring in disbelief. "George, you..." "Yes." How could I suddenly become so unreasonable? I looked at Sandra, my face twisted with fury, and said, "Let me move out, or I'll get up in the middle of the night and strangle Maria." Sandra's eyes widened with fear. I looked possessed. But if acting like a lunatic was the only way to leave, then I didn't mind being a lunatic. Finally, my dad gave in. "Fine, if you want to move out, then move out. I see you've grown wings now," he sneered. "I'm telling you, if you leave, I won't give you a single penny. Think carefully." I shot him a glance, a short laugh escaping from my nose. An 18-year-old George might have been threatened by that, but not me. That night, I packed my bags and left. Chapter 14. The same mistake I would not make twice. Leaving home was without doubt the wisest choice. Even though life in the dorm was far from pleasant, my roommates weren't in the same class as me. They excluded me, isolated me, and seemed to gossip about me both openly and behind my back. I didn't know the reason, but I didn't care. With only 2 months left before the college entrance exam, my head was filled only with study. For the sake of victory, my endurance was astonishing, until my water cup was once again thrown into the toilet. I looked around and asked, who did it? The 3 people in the dorm, none of them admitted it. No one wants to speak. I gave a short laugh, grabbed the 3 cups on the sink, and shoved them all into the toilet. Then we'd all be dirty together. Makoto roared. George, what the hell is wrong with you? I said, if it happens again, I'll return the favor exactly as it came. I put up with these things only to keep life quiet, not because I was afraid. Makoto was all bark and no bite. The other 2 roommates immediately became cautious. One said, it wasn't me. The other echoed, not me either. That left only Makoto. He stiffened his neck and refused to admit fault, speaking righteously. Yeah, I did it. So what, George? We've had enough of you. You're a thief, a liar, and you toyed with Willow's feelings. I narrowed my eyes and asked, who told you that? He shot back. Doesn't matter who told me. We all know anyway. Willow. No. I looked him up and down. Makoto played piano. What a coincidence. So did Maria, I said. So, it was Maria who told you. Makoto froze, his face flickering with panic before he steadied himself and said, yeah, Maria told me. So what? Do you dare say it's not true? Whether it was true or not, why would I argue with him? I would only confront Maria. If she dared to slander me, I wouldn't let it go. Chapter 15. In this world, the one I hated most was Maria. I hated her casual cruelty, her calm and airy malice. At home, once the door was closed, she mocked me without restraint, belittled me, stabbed at me with words, sneered at me, but I would no longer accept it. The next day, I poured an entire bucket of red paint over Maria's head. My dear sister, I said cheerfully, welcome to being a drowned rat. Silence, nothing but silence. In a class of 40, it was as if someone had pressed the pause button. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and then came the screams. Maria clutched her face and screamed hysterically. Her classmates surrounded her, but none of them dared to touch me. Bang! I threw the paint bucket on the ground and turned away. For the first time, I felt genuine happiness from the bottom of my heart. Since being reborn, this was the happiest moment, until I saw Willow, that haunting shadow, never leaving. She said, you shouldn't have done that. She's your sister. Bullying a girl is wrong. I sneered. What do you know? She still wanted to play the good person. She didn't know what I had endured in the dorm. She didn't know what I had endured at home, and I would never just let it go. Chapter 16. As expected, I was called to the teacher's office. She told me to write a self-reflection. I raised an eyebrow. Not calling my parents? The teacher said, I already called your father, but your aunt answered. She said she understood, that this was just a misunderstanding, and she didn't blame you. George, the teacher added, I think maybe you're biased against them. I almost laughed out loud. Sandra was really clever. She was coaxing me to come back. She wanted to rebuild her image in my heart with magnanimity, to lure me back home, behind closed doors. She could destroy me all over again. I wouldn't fall for it, I said. Since it's nothing, I'll go. I was busy. As long as Maria didn't provoke me, I had no desire to see her. With the college entrance exam countdown ticking away, I was more nervous than anyone. I knew Sandra hadn't given up. She was scheming, desperate to keep me from going to college. She must have had countless tricks up her sleeve, so I couldn't relax. I had to stay on guard, not blink for even a second. But Maria was only 18. She didn't have such deep cunning. I had shamed her, so she wanted to destroy me. Chapter 17. I could feel someone watching me. On the way back to the dorm after evening study, there were clearly malicious eyes following me. I couldn't see who it was, but I knew. Not to mention, Makoto kept peeking at me, again and again, checking what I was doing. I thought, he was spying on me for someone. To be safe, I started walking back with the crowd, until one day, when everyone else went out for dinner, and I had no choice but to return alone, Willow suddenly appeared in front of me and asked, which university do you want to go to in the future? I said, any one will do, as long as it was a university. It was fine. Willow made a small sound of acknowledgement and then asked, but do you have a place you'd like to go? I said, as long as it's not here, anywhere is fine. As long as I could leave this place, it didn't matter where. Willow stopped walking, facing me. Her mouth opened and closed and opened again, before she shyly blurted, then George, would you maybe want to with me? I cut her off. Not interested. I didn't hesitate. Willow was speechless. I said, you know the reason, so there's no need to ask me why. I didn't want to explain things she already knew. Chapter 18. Willow got angry and turned away. It was the weekend that night. The campus was empty and desolate. As I walked out of the teaching building, I sensed something was wrong. I shoved both hands into my pockets, tightly gripping the knife hidden inside. Then suddenly, the air behind me shifted, a strong arm swept in from the side, hooking around my neck like an iron clamp. The force tightened abruptly. My breath was cut off instantly, my body thrown off balance, and the next second, I was dragged to the ground. The burly man pinned me down and growled, "Stay quiet." He glared at me viciously and demanded, "You're George, aren't you?" A punch landed square on my face as he ground his teeth. "You're the one who bullied Maria, right?" I choked, unable to make words. "What are you trying to say?" He loosened his grip. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. He leaned closer. "What did you say?" That was it, when his face came down, close enough to touch. I suddenly twisted my arm back and stabbed, growling, "Die." Damn, his reflexes were fast. The blade only cut a shallow line across his right arm. I shifted quickly, reversed my grip on the handle, and thrust again, but he wrenched his body sideways, our wrists locking together, and with sheer brute force he twisted the knife around. The blade was pressed down toward my chest, the cold edge glinting as he pushed harder and harder. My face flushed red, but I couldn't stop him. His grip kept tightening, and the tip of the knife sank lower and lower, until he suddenly screamed. Willow had smashed a rock against the back of his head. I clutched my throat, coughing. Willow shoved him down and grabbed my arm. "Run." I pulled away from her, speechless, and snapped. "Phone." Willow blinked in confusion. "What?" I said, exasperated. "Take out your phone, call the police." Chapter 19. This night was destined not to be peaceful. At the police station, the man confessed, someone had asked him to help, so he went to intimidate me. Yes, only to intimidate. But I insisted it was attempted murder. The injuries on my body were physical evidence, and Willow was the witness. Soon, the school and the parents were summoned one after another, and so was the instigator, Maria. She looked pitiful and said, "It wasn't me. I didn't send anyone to hurt George. He's my brother. How could I possibly have someone go after him?" The man retorted angrily, "Maria, it was clearly you." Maria lowered her head and said, "I know you like me. Maybe you wanted to stand up for me, but I never asked you to." The man was left speechless. Sandra stepped in, saying, "Maria and George are siblings. The two kids argued before. Maybe Maria complained a little to her classmates. At this age, boys are impulsive, so maybe he just." The man cursed. "That's nonsense." But obviously, he was no match for Maria and her mother, especially not with my dad standing by them. My dad said, "Officer, this must be a misunderstanding. Maria isn't that kind of child. She's very well behaved." I let out a mocking laugh. Willow, on the other hand, looked at me, her eyes glistening with tears. No, was she actually pitying me? Because it happened on school grounds. In the end, both sides were made to reconcile. My dad represented me and forgave the attacker. My dad said, "George, I'm doing this for your future. Let bygones be bygones. The college entrance exam is so critical right now, nothing can go wrong." Yes, the future was important, but I didn't know whether he cared about my future, or Maria's. "Dad," I said with a laugh, "between me and Maria, you pick one." He said nothing. I took a deep breath and said, "Since I started living at school until now, have you ever once come to see me? Did you ask if I was short of money? Did you pay my dorm fees? Did you know I go hungry every single day?" My dad stared at me, shocked. "What are you talking about?" I said. "See, you don't know anything." I spread my hands. "So, you already made your choice long ago. At 28, I chose to reconcile with myself. I told myself I lacked nothing, that maybe I should forgive my father. So I returned to my hometown. I returned home. I thought that in the 10 years I'd been gone, he would have missed me, worried for me, just a little, enough to make him look worn and aged. But the truth was different. He and Sandra walked back from the market together, hand in hand, chatting and laughing like the most loving couple. I passed right by them. My dad, he didn't recognize me. Ha ha ha. He didn't recognize me. How laughable. So I had long since stopped expecting him to do anything for me. Chapter 20. June. 1 week left until the college entrance exam. I moved out of the dorm and found a nearby hotel. I didn't tell anyone, but somehow, Willow sniffed me out and came anyway. She asked, "Why are you staying in a hotel?" I frowned and said, "Don't you think you're a little too curious about my life?" Willow hesitated, then turned her eyes away. "No, I just think you're pitiful." Overflowing sympathy. So I said, "Since you think I'm pitiful, then lend me another 20,000. Willow was speechless. With resentment, she pulled out her wallet and said, "Here." I clutched the money tightly. Now we were even, I thought. The 200 from my past life had worsened my 18 years, 10 years, 100-fold interest. Now Willow and I were even. I no longer hated her. I didn't even hate my dad anymore. As I walked out of the exam hall, the blazing sun cast its lingering heat on him and Sandra. Sandra held Maria in her arms, asking her questions with patience. He looked at me. I stood right in front of him. He opened his mouth and finally said, "Come home." I asked, "Where is my home?" His lips pressed together, displeasure flashing across his face, as if annoyed at my continued rebellion and immaturity. I only smiled. Then I turned and walked away. He would never understand. From that moment on, I had gained the future I wanted, and just like in my past life, I would inevitably abandon everything behind me. Chapter 21. I found a summer job, working as a kitchen helper in a fast food restaurant. Willow kept coming to eat there. She asked how I did on the exam, where I wanted to go to college. I ignored her. On the day the results came out, Maria came to show off in front of me. "I'm going abroad for a trip." Maria smiled. "My academic scores were good enough, so I'll be studying piano in Beijing." "George, how did you do on your exam?" I said. "Take a guess." Maria's expression darkened, but she quickly recovered. She said, "Even if you did well, it's useless. Can you earn enough for tuition and living expenses just by working 2 months? Don't expect Dad to give you anything. Understand?" He already said, "Unless you go back and apologize to him, he won't give you a single cent." I laughed. "Oh, is that so? What a pity. What are you so smug about?" Maria stood up and said, "I'll be waiting for you to come begging to my mom and me." Never. That day would never come. I filled in my application for the school I wanted, in the city I liked. It was true. I had no money, but I had too many ways to scrape together enough for the first year's tuition. 18-year-old George might have had no way out, but I wasn't him. Maria would never see that day, and the apology my dad wanted would never happen either, because I was about to leave. The day I received the admission letter, I ended my rental and bought a train ticket. While I was packing, Willow came after hearing the news. "You're leaving?" I nodded. She asked, "Why? Why so suddenly?" Her face was full of confusion. I frowned. "Not suddenly at all. I need to go early to gather money for tuition and living expenses. Maybe even find a job." Willow didn't understand. She said, "You really don't plan to go home?" Did she think I was playing some kind of runaway from home game? "Willow," I said, "thank you for everything until now, but I hope we won't see each other again in the future." Willow was in disbelief. She shouted behind me, "Why, George, you have no heart. I've helped you so much, and you're not even a little grateful." I turned to look at her. Maybe Willow felt she was wronged. After all, in this life she hadn't really done anything. She had even saved my life. I said, "But Willow, your kindness is something I can't repay, and since I can't repay it, then let's just leave it unpaid." Willow was left speechless. Chapter 22. 10 years ago, on the eve of the college entrance exam, Sandra deliberately locked me in the bathroom. I shouted for a long time, but no one came. Later, I smashed the bathroom window and climbed out from the 3rd floor. The glass cut open my fingers, and during the exam, blood mixed with the ink stained the test paper. As expected, I failed, and I had no chance to start over again. That night, my dad and Sandra discussed in the living room what to do with me. My dad said I was too young. Sandra said that hair salons were making good money at the time. Maria sat in her room eating watermelon. She said, "When you learn the trade in the future, my mom and I will come to your shop." I turned to look at her. Watermelon juice stained her lips, making her look like a demon. She wanted to eat me alive, bit by bit, swallow me whole, but I refused to accept it. The grievances I had endured for years exploded at that moment. I rushed over, slapped her across the face, and pressed down on her neck, choking her with all my strength. Maria screamed. I was knocked to the ground with a punch. Sandra held her and comforted her. My dad roared, "George, what madness is this?" Yes, I had gone mad. If I stayed any longer, I would truly go insane. So I could only escape. With my ID card and a few hundred yuan, I boarded a southbound train. I started as a dishwasher, in a cramped rental room in a migrant village. I kept all I owned. I locked the door, pressed a wardrobe against it, and hid a kitchen knife under my pillow. I never dared to sleep deeply, never dared to fall sick, like he was doing it on purpose. The old man next door always turned his TV up to the maximum volume at night. The moans of women and the heavy panting of men overlapped again and again. I lay there with my eyes open, listening on repeat. The cockroaches in the south were shockingly huge. In the filthy, modeled bathroom, they were always crawling. I swore I would not rot away like them. Finally, I saved enough money to enroll myself in a training course. Since childhood, I had had a sharp instinct for numbers. I loved math. There were no ambiguous words, only cold numbers. Right and wrong always had one clear answer. I immersed myself greedily in the world built by numbers, absorbing every formula. So hungry, it was like I was suffocating. I didn't dare to stop. Then, I passed the exams. I left the migrant village. I found a proper job. The company was small, with many illegal practices, but I was still grateful. Grateful that they gave me a chance. Even if I earned the lowest salary, I didn't care. I had no diploma, I needed experience. I cherished every opportunity. I was still hungry, but I no longer felt it was suffering. I studied, took exams, worked. I buried myself in tasks every day, not daring to pause for even a single day. Finally, in the second year, I became a financial supervisor. In the third year, I switched to a bigger company. In the fourth year, I earned my first 100,000. In the fifth year, I changed jobs again, gained the chance to study abroad, and my salary rose from 100,000 to 300,000. The fifth year, the sixth, the seventh. By the 10th year, finally, I bought a house, bought a car. One afternoon, I ordered myself a cup of coffee and sat there leisurely. The bitter taste of coffee stung my tongue. I drank it all in one gulp, then quickly ran to the bathroom and vomited until nothing was left. But I was overjoyed. I laughed while I vomited. In the end, I wiped my mouth clean and walked back home. So how could I ever want someone else's salvation? Countless times, I had saved myself from fire and water. Chapter 23. After university started, I found a tutoring job. The boy was very smart, with excellent grades. On his birthday, he invited me to join the celebration. I brought him a gift. 17 and 18-year-old boys and girls filled the room, chatting and laughing, sharing their dreams, envisioning bright futures. I sipped my tea quietly, watching, and I thought, this was nice. The tea was a little bitter, but my stomach wasn't ruined. It could handle it. University was good too. The youth and future I had lost, I was slowly picking up again, piece by piece. Even though I had already achieved worldly success, I still regretted it, regretted everything 18-year-old George had lost. On the way back to school, Willow called me. I answered. Across an entire Pacific Ocean. It should have been noon for her. I could hear the noisy background of the call. George. Willow's voice came through. She said, "Happy birthday." I said, "International calls are expensive. If that's all, hang up." Willow ground her teeth. "Go to hell." I laughed out loud. In my past life, I never saw Willow again, but I hated her all my life, cursing her never to die well, even though I knew my curse had no power, that she would surely live happily in some corner of the world. I still hated her, but at this moment, I took back that hatred. I said, "You know what, Willow?" I said, "In the future, I'll be a renowned business elite." Willow snorted, "Liar." But then, in a softer voice, she said, "You will, George, you will succeed." Of course, I would succeed. Past, present, and future, I would succeed. I never went back home again. Even after I became successful again, I didn't return. My dad called me, but I always gave the same reply: "I'm busy. I need to earn money. I need to live." Eventually, he lost his temper and shouted, "Is money the only thing in your eyes?" "Yes." Over the phone, I said, "All I see is money. Just like this call, you only made it to ask me for money." My dad froze. Then, click, I hung up. He thought I didn't know, but I knew everything. I knew Maria had cut her hand by accident, that she could no longer play piano. Maria, missing a finger, became the greatest resentful woman in the world. She lashed out at everyone indiscriminately. My dad and Sandra had countless fights, but I felt no sympathy. They were the wife and daughter he had chosen. He should bear it himself. Each of us has to pay for our own life. So, blessings.